Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Today's Taaleem, or today's application of knowledge, or today's talk, or today's khutbah, or today's speech, okay? We're talking about Tauheed Movement. And I just want to share with you a little bit with regards to Tauheed Movement, the name Tauheed Movement, and why I chose the word Tauheed Movement. This is the word Tauheed Movement in Arabic. It's called Harakatut Tauheed. Harakatut Tauheed. The word Haraka means to move. Right? Harakatut Tauheed, right? The move, to move, the movement of Tauheed. Harakatut Tauheed, the movement of Tauheed. And as you see, this word Haraka is also when you're learning how to read, right? You have the vowels, you have the letters which are the harufs, and you have the vowels which are the harakas. Right? The harakas which make things move. It's called to move. Right? You have a letter, but it has no vowel. It can't move unless you put that haraka on it, unless you put that vowel on it. Then it can move. Right? This what causes it to move. So the same thing here. Harakatut Tauheed, the movement of Tauheed. Okay? So this is the name that I chose, right, for our organization, or for our facility, Tauheed Movement. The first thing that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ taught for 13 years was Tauheed. The first thing that he told Mu'adh ibn Jabal when he went to Yemen to go teach the people the deen, he said the first thing you teach them is Tauheed. Okay? The first thing that you should know in this religion, the first thing that all the prophets advocated, they all came with, was Tauheed. Right? The application of La ilaha illallah. Right? So we go to, with regards to our intent in Tauheed Movement. What is our intent in Tauheed Movement? Our intent in Tauheed Movement is to make a conscious decision to return everything back to Allah. What do we mean? We mean the laws, we mean our family structure, we mean our thinking process, we mean our friendships, we mean our loyalties, we mean our relationships, we mean our business transactions. Everything return back to Allah. Everything return back to Tauheed. Because when you go back to Tauheed, then everything that comes with Tauheed, the laws, the regulations, the Sharia, the do's, the don'ts, right? All of that comes with Tauheed. Because Tauheed means the application of the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of everything, He's the creator of everything, thus He is the only one that has the authority to tell us how we are supposed to live our life. The only one. Because He created us. So this is our intent, to go back to Tauheed, to go back to the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. Where other nations or other facilities or other entities are striving to remove God from the equation, we want to put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the equation. Not only in the equation, but we want to put Him number one in the equation. Allah created us. Allah knows what's best for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us guidelines, so therefore we got to follow those guidelines. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, which is actually a question that I was going to ask you guys. The question is, why are we here?
To worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
To worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And our evidence of that. Again, we have evidence, which is Dalil, chapter 51, verse 56. And again, this is called Dalil. Dalil means your proof, your points, or your evidence. One of the worst things we can say, or one of the worst things that we can do in Islam, is to try to make up things. Or I feel, I think, right? Or to guess in Islam. We don't use conjectures. We have to use dalil. We have to use proof, points, and evidence. And everything that we use must be Quran and Sunnah. So with regards to the question, why are we here? The sister said, to worship Allah. How do we know this? Allah says in chapter 51, verse 56, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that I did not create jinn nor did I create mankind except that they may worship me. So that's why we're here. In a nutshell, we can go and jump up and down and go around a corner, but in a nutshell, we are here to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He did not create us. The only reason why we were created, or even fashioned, or even brought into existence was to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Period. Okay? Which is Tauheed. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says we're here to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? What are we supposed to do while we're here? We're supposed to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? He created us to worship Him. So what are we supposed to do? What are you supposed to do while we're here? He said to fulfill our covenant that we have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what I'm going to read is one ayah, chapter 67, verse 1 through 2. Chapter 67, verse 1 through 2, Surah Al-Mulk. Allah tells us, A'udhu-billahi min-ash-shaytanir rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. Allah states, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Blessed is He in whose hands is the dominion, right? The kingdom, and He is able to do all things. الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتِ. It is He who created death, and it is He who created life, that He may test which of you is best in deeds, and He is Almighty, the oft-forgiving. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, so we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا خَلَقَتُ الْجِنَّ وَإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I did not create jinn and men except that they may worship me. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. I created death and I created life to test you, to see which of you is best in deeds. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He created us to worship Him, and right here, this is a testing ground to see which of us is best in deeds. So basically, we're here in a nutshell to worship Allah, because you created us to worship Him, and to test us to see which of us will be best in worshiping Him. It's a contest. It's a race. Okay, how do we know it's a race? Let's go to chapter 5, verse 48. Allah states, A'udhu-billahi min-ash-shaytanir rajeem. If Allah had willed, He would have made you one nation, but that He may test you in what He has given you. So compete, so race in good deeds. The return of you all is to Allah, then He will inform you about that in which you used to differ in. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He created you to see who is best in deeds, so race one another into good deeds. So it's a competition. So not only are we here to worship Allah, but while we're here worshiping Allah, we're trying to see who's the best at worshiping Allah. Then Allah says, and compete at it. Remember Abu Bakr and Umar used to always be competing with one another. Right? Umar would do something, or he would see Abu Bakr do something, and they would be competing with one another. Every time Umar would see Abu Bakr do something, he tried to compete with him and outdo him. Right? This was the spirit. Not to do it to be seen, but they were doing it to compete with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and trying to gain the highest levels of paradise. When you understand that the ultimate goal is to make it to the Jannah. We're created while we're here. We're created to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the only reason why He created us. The only reason why He fashioned us. The only reason why we're here is to worship Him. And to make it to the Jannah, and to be saved from the fire. So I know that that's my ultimate goal, and I know I'm supposed to be racing and doing this. And this is my reality. Not that I think, no, this is my reality, that I'm here to worship Allah, to see who's best in deeds, and I'm supposed to be racing, and I'm supposed to be competing with other people with regards to the good deeds. That means I'm supposed to be far and go far and beyond. I'm supposed to try to do better than you. I'm supposed to try to outdo you. Right? As some people might say, oh, he's a goody two-shoe, or you a holier than thou, or you a super Muslim, or you a ultra Muslim. No, I'm just trying to be a Muslim. My reality, or where I'm supposed to be, may not be your reality, or where you're supposed to be. Right? Everybody got to put their own, pedestal. Everybody got to put their own levels. Where do you want to be? He said that he created us. He created death. He created life to see which of us is best in deeds. Right? Let me see what you're going to do. Let me see what you're going to do. I'm going to give you this guidance. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to see what you're going to do. And I'm going to see which one of you is best in deeds. And at the end of the day, I'm giving out trophies and ribbons to those that were best in it. So it's just like racing. Right? I don't know about you, but every time I got into a race, I wanted to win. I don't want no bronze medal. I don't want no silver medal. Right? I didn't want no congratulations for completion or competition or whatever that was, 5th place. I don't want none of that. If I can't win, I don't want to play. So even in the game of life, or in the game of trying to make it to the Jannah, or in the game of seeing who's best in deeds, right? Or in the game of seeing who's the fastest in this race, right? We want to see who's the best. So you can't be mad at the next person if he's striving to race in this demon. He's trying to outdo you. Oh man, he's showing. No, man, hey, that's his thing. He may be trying to please Allah, And there's a catch-22. We know that we have in Islam which is called shirk, right? And we also have in Islam which is called minor shirk. There's a minor shirk. Who knows what the minor shirk is? We got shirk akbar, and we got shirk sagir. We got the major shirk, we got the minor shirk.
Stealing.
Minor shirk would be
Fortune teller?
Riyah. Showing off, doing things to be seen. Okay? Riyah. Right? Riyah is the shirk sagir. This is the minor shirk. We got shirk akbar, which is the major shirk, associated partners with Allah, praying to somebody else, calling out to somebody else, prostrating to somebody else. Right? That's shirk akbar. That's the highest shirk. That's the biggest shirk. We got shirk sagir, which is the smaller shirk or the lesser shirk, which is riyah, which means to do things to be seen. And Rasulullah said, I fear for my ummah. I fear riyah for my ummah like a black night, like a black ant on a black night on a black rock. He said, that's how deceptive that riyah will creep into my ummah. Like a black ant on a black night on a black rock. You can hardly see it. But he said, I fear for riyah creeping into my ummah like the black ant on a black night on a black rock. Right? It's so subtle you can't even see it. Right? So he said, see, grab some lost from the riyah, from doing things to be seen. Right? He said, what is riyah? He said, riyah could be when one who's reciting Quran and he knows that there's certain people there, so he wants to increase his recitation. Right? He's showing off. He's not doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now remember, it's a catch-22 because we do have other evidences and hadiths where there were people that were reciting Quran to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And the Sahaba told him, well, if I knew that you were listening, I would have beautified my voice. I would have made it sound more beautiful. So there's nothing wrong with making your voice sound beautiful, right? Because this is also part of the Sunnah. But to do it to show off for the people and not to do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to glorify and to make his word uppermost, this is riyah. Okay? This is shirk, a minor shirk. So with regards to riyah and with regards to competing with one another, the reason why I'm sharing this is because one day the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was talking about riyah. He was talking about showing off and doing things to be seen. And so after this talk, Umar bin al-An, he was crying to the point that his beard was soaked with tears. He said, Ya Umar. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ya Umar, what's wrong? Why is it that you cry? He said, because I like to do things, I like to compete in this deen. Right? I like to outdo my brother because Allah says compete in this deen. So now I don't know whether I'm doing it to be seen or I'm doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, so I fear this. He said, your tears or your fear of it proves that you're not one of those that are doing it. It's for the one who doesn't fear it. So the one who doesn't fear riyah, he doesn't have a conscious, like, dang, am I doing this to be seen, or am I doing this to be sincere, or I'm just doing this to show off, right? The one who is conscious about this, he's always, gauging his levels, like, man, am I doing this to be seen, or am I doing this sincerely? This is not the one that's doing it to be seen because he fears it. But the one who doesn't fear it, the one who doesn't fear riyah, or the one who doesn't fear doing things to be seen, this is the one that needs to be worried, because he might be doing it, okay? So again, there's nothing wrong with competing with one another, okay? Making sure that you're not doing things to be seen, okay? We've seen that Umar and An, they used to compete, but they did it fi sabilillah. The main thing is to make sure that your niyah, make sure that your intention is proper. Make sure your intention is proper. Always redo your intentions when you're doing something. Oh Allah, please bless me to be among those who do it sincere. Oh Allah, I see referencing you from riyah. Oh Allah, I see referencing you from showing off. Oh Allah, bless my deeds to be sincere. Bless me to be among the mukhlisin. Bless me to be among those who are sincere in this deen, inshallah. Not being of the ra'in or the ra'un. Those are doing things to be seen, ya Allah. Ameen. And continuously make these du'as. Keep your intention clear, inshallah. Okay? So, boom. In a nutshell, Tauheed Movement. Our intent, go back to Allah. Go back to Tauheed. Go back to what Allah sent all the prophets with. Boom. Why are we here? To worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Straight up. That's why we're here. We're walking, we're talking, we're doing, we're creating, because Allah said to worship Him. That's it. So while we're here, what are we supposed to do? He said, man, He created death and He created life to see which of us is best indeed. So basically, this is a testing ground to see what you gonna do, what he gonna do, what she gonna do, which one of y'all is best in deeds. I'm seeing which one of y'all is the best of the flock. Right? That's why there's different levels of paradise. Everybody's not going to the same level. There's different levels of the hellfire. Everybody's not going to the same hellfire. Right? There's different levels. Right? So let's see which one of you was best in deeds. Then he said, and race one another. Compete with one another in good deeds. Race, compete. Right? Encourage. The best dawah is by example. Right? The best dawah is not by lip service, but the best dawah is by example. So race one another. Yes. Okay, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أما بعد. Again, just another brief recap, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. We talked about the Tauheed Movement. What is our intent in Tauheed Movement? The intent in Tauheed Movement is to take everything back to Tauheed, to take everything back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In a society or in a place where everything is geared towards separating church and state and whatnot, we want to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't want to separate from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? We want to go back to the teachings and put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. And allowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's laws and guidelines to control, right, and guide our life, inshallah. That's the intent in the Tauheed Movement. We showed that this is the name of Tauheed Movement. We chose the name Tauheed Movement. Haraka to Tauheed. Haraka to Tauheed means, Haraka means to move. Haraka to Tauheed, the movement of Tauheed. We moving with Tauheed. We moving with the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We moving with trying to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with this Risala for 23 years, the first 13 years was Tauheed. When he sent his emissaries, when he sent his Sahabas to the different nations to give them this deen, he sent one of the Sahabas, Mu'adh ibn Jabal, he said, what is it that you would teach the people? The first thing you would teach the people? He said, I would teach them about Tauheed. When they have a firm understanding of that, then I teach them about the Salah. Okay, so we have a structure, a pecking order. Tauheed is first. Okay, we went into why is it that we're here? Why are we here? Right, and the sister said we're here to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we said that our evidence of this is in chapter 51, verse 56. This is our dalil. And dalil means our proof, our points of evidence. And everything that we use with regards to proofs, points of evidence, with regards to anything that we say with regards to this deen, it must be from Quran and Sunnah, Q and S. Okay, so our proofs and our points, our evidence from Quran and Sunnah, that the reason why we're here is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is in chapter 51, verse 56. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I did not create jinn or men except that they may worship me. Then we ask, what was the question? What are we supposed to do while we're here? We're here because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to worship Him. What are we supposed to do? When we learn that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that verily in chapter 67, verse 1 through 2, He said, blessed is He, right? The one who created death and He created life to see which of you is best in deeds. So the whole reason why He created death and life, we go through this whole purpose of living and dying, being created and whatnot. He said, but to see which of us is best in deeds. So basically, we're being here to be tested. Who's going to follow? Who's going to disobey? Then we learn in chapter 5, verse 48, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, again, we're testing you to see who's best in deeds. So therefore, race one another into good deeds. Race one another. So there's nothing wrong with competing with one another in good deeds. Right? Again, it's a catch-22. There's nothing wrong with competing. Abu Bakr and Umar, again, they used to compete with one another. We're giving sadaqah, we're giving charity, with regards to anything that the Prophet ﷺ asked for, they would compete with one another. Right? But they weren't jealous of one another. They were doing it only to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So you compete with your brothers or your sisters because you're trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're not doing it out of hatred or jealousy or envy. Okay? So race one another into good deeds. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. That's where we left off.